So this is very big news that we teased yesterday on the show. And then at 4 o'clock, we heard this announcement. President Trump saying that he is upholding his America First pledge with 25% tariffs on foreign made cars and parts. He says the move could raise $1 trillion in revenue over the next 2 years. Here's some of that.
If you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant. But their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites.
So the United Auto Workers, which endorsed Vice President Harris last year, released this response.
We are ecstatic to see an administration finally address the unfair trade laws in this country. These laws have destroyed the American working class. They've destroyed communities in this country.
Well, there you go. The European Commission calling the tariffs, quote, bad for businesses, worse for consumers in the U.S. and the European Union. Republican Senator from Ohio, Bernie Moreno, joins me now. Before the Senate, he owned car dealerships that spanned several states, bought his first one in 2005 in Ohio, which is one of the top states for auto manufacturing in the country, about 84,000 auto workers in Ohio. Senator, good to have you with us today. What is your reaction to this 25% tariff, and how do you think it's actually going to play out?
Well, first of all, nobody should be surprised. President Trump campaigned on this promise to restore American automotive manufacturing here in America. And it's a very simple premise. If you sell your cars here, those cars should be made here. You know, it's interesting to see the reaction from the EU. They don't let our cars even go there at all. So look, they wouldn't like it if all of a sudden the vast majority of the cars sold in their countries were imported from America. Our workers were destroyed through these terrible trade policies. We gutted out communities. We have to rebuild these communities. And I applaud President Trump for finally taking decisive action that will restore the American manufacturing might in the auto industry here in America.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers that you just mentioned. U.S. automotive parts manufacturing over the past 24 years here in the United States down 34%. And let's hear from Sean Fain once again, talking about what you just mentioned in terms of the trade deal, this one, NAFTA. Watch.
Since NAFTA's inception and other horrible trade laws in the last 3 to 4 decades, we've seen 90,000 manufacturing facilities leave the United States. And they're doing it not because it's the right thing. They're doing it, they're destroying communities, all in the name of driving a race to the bottom and exploiting workers in other countries, you know, for poverty wages, poverty conditions.
So, Senator, I think one of the questions that comes up here, and I think President Trump just touched on it in those comments, is how quickly all of this can happen. And he suggested in that soundbite that there are facilities that are not at full capacity or that have been abandoned for overseas manufacturing. What can you tell us about that? How fast it can be?
He's absolutely right. We have a 6 million square foot manufacturing facility in Lordstown, Ohio, that used to employ 10,000 UAW workers. It's completely, for the most part, empty. That thing can be turned on in a matter of a few months. We have plants all over America that are underutilized, either operating on 1 or 2 shifts that can go to a 3-shift model pretty quickly. We have some car companies that are making cars that aren't very popular. Car companies can come in and buy that excess production, but it can't be a fight. This is America standing up for Americans. This is a president who's always said and always will have the back of the American worker, finally. And I think that's what makes President Trump such an incredible president. Well, he campaigned on it, Martha.
Senator,
so this should be no surprise.
One quick question. It's interesting that the unions in UAW in Ohio backed Sherrod Brown, who you ran against and you beat. And now we see the unions rallying behind this action. But union workers make a lot more, obviously, than workers in Mexico. Put this up. And this is not exactly apples and apples, I should point out, but it's the best comparison we could find. $30 an hour in the United States, $3 an hour for car manufacturing workers in Mexico. How's that going to, translate into the cost of cars here?
Well, first of all, you're going to see some changes in currency devaluation. You'll see what the car companies can absorb. But us having policies that allow these companies to go out and chase slave wages and destroy communities. That era is over. And I think one of the things that President Trump has done is refocused us that the most important thing we can do here in Washington, D.C. is advocate and fight for working Americans. And look, the union did support my opponent, Sherrod Brown, but he had been here for 50 years and did nothing. So I think what a lot of union members saw, and now union leaders are seeing, is that these Democrats, their words were hollow. They said the right things, but their actions didn't match. Now what we're seeing is Republicans that are fighting for working Americans.
So, of course, everybody will be watching to see those actions as they play out over the next 18 months or so. I would imagine this is going to turn out to be an issue in the midterm elections for people. So it's going to be fascinating to watch this. But as you say, enthusiasm from the unions about this is expressed in a large way today. Good to see you, Senator Moreno. Thank you very much.
Good to see you. And Michigan is going to be bright red in a couple of years. You mark my words.
We'll be watching. We'll be covering it all. Thank you very much, Senator.